you have to start now, where you're at right now, and you have to do something now. You don't need to do AI overnight. You just need to pick one pain point. Maybe it's a slow follow-up or tour no-shows. I think the biggest mistake for us is waiting for perfection.
What if your CRM wasn't the end goal, but just one part of a deeper conversation about personalization and the future of care? Today's guest has spent 3 decades in tech, and she believes senior living is finally catching up.
Welcome to From Leads to Leases, a CCR growth podcast that helps senior living providers transform their complex challenges into opportunities. Listen in for stories from industry leaders, innovative strategies, and insights. And with our expertise, learn how to increase occupancy faster, guaranteed.
Welcome back to another episode of From Leads to Leases, the podcast that dives deep into the senior living and senior care industries, bringing you insights, strategies, and stories from the experts at the forefront of innovation, leadership, and care. I'm your host, Jerry Vinci, CEO of CCR Growth. And for those of you who don't know about us, CCR Growth is a full-service marketing and growth agency that's exclusive to the senior living industry. And through this podcast, I'm here to guide you through the evolving landscape of senior care, exploring the innovations, strategies, and leadership insights that are shaping the future of the industry. So whether you're a provider, a caregiver, or an industry leader, this show is here to help you make informed decisions and create meaningful impact. Today's guest is Mona Hilton, the CEO of Genesis Global Technologies and the creator of Advantage Anywhere, a CRM and automation platform purpose-built for senior living. With over 30 years of experience in the technology space and a foundational background in marketing, Mona has become a fierce advocate for smarter, human-centered automation. She speaks frequently at national conferences, including those in senior living and multifamily housing, and is focused on bridging the gap between high-tech capability and deeply personal care. So, Mona, welcome to the show.
Why, thank you so much. It's so great to be here with you, Jerry.
Yeah. I love talking tech, and it's always so interesting to see what other people are doing. And I love specifically what you guys are doing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about behind the software, right? So your path into tech and automation. So I know before you ever built a CRM, you were a marketer, you always loved systems, and you shared experiences and how tech taught you about what communities actually need and why automation isn't about removing the human, but enhancing it. So what initially sparked your interest in blending marketing and technology?
Yeah, that's a great question. My truth is in the background. I've been in marketing my entire life. My degree's in marketing. I did marketing for many years, whether it's, Time Customer Service, Florida Power and Light, any other places. But I love tech. I'm kind of like you, Jerry. Before it was even a thing, when I was at Time Customer Service, I was offered a job in tech. But at the end of the day, I couldn't leave marketing. She said, "Can you leave marketing?" I said, "I just can't do it." So when I came down to Fort Myers, I made it a sense for me to create a marketing and tech company put together. So because I've always believed that technology's perfect pairing was with marketing. And, as you know, tech's highest purpose is to help people do more than they could ever do alone, which is, of course, what AI does for us now. So that's why I started building Advantage Anywhere.
And in terms of the senior living industry, what kind of systems did you see that are missing when you first entered the space?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first stepped into senior living, I was kind of shocked at how personality dependent everything was. So sales pipelines were basically built on sticky notes like these or spreadsheets or someone's memory. And then, of course, if that person quit, so did their follow-up and their notes. There were no real systems. They were all based on who had the best personality or perhaps even best coffee that day. What I thought was missing was consistency. So consistency is a key to automation. It's the key to accountability. It's basically the key to every area of our life. So when we built a system, we're looking to take the top performers process, so the top people, and then make sure that everyone followed the same thing. So we're no longer winging it. We're no longer waking up in the middle of the night with what I call oh, shoot, I follow up with someone. It's just using smart automation, guiding every step from, the lead to the inquiry, to the prospect, to the tour, and eventually to the move-ins. That was what we were all about.
Yeah, I know outside of marketing too, there's so many other ways to automate and improve data collection, right? Across the board. I mean, you've got the care staff and their note taking, right? A lot of that's still done manually. And then even on the resident side of things, there's so many different ways you could implement tech and AI and other systems to help improve their experience as well within the community. There's a lot of skepticism in senior living, and part of it's because this industry tends to be a little bit behind the curve in terms of early adoption. But there is skepticism about automation replacing real relationships, or I guess fear of it replacing real relationships. What would you say to communities that worry tech will damage the human connection?
Yeah, I know. I hear that everywhere I go. Everyone says, oh, it's going to ruin the sales. It's going to ruin everything. Here's what I would say. I would say that the tech doesn't replace the human connection. It actually protects it. So if you think of it that way, the real threat to connection isn't necessarily AI or automation. It's, when your leads fall through the cracks or, your follow up isn't consistent or, your teams are so overwhelmed, they don't have time to actually connect or engage with the prospect. So automation handles the repetitive stuff. So your people can do only what humans can do. We can build trust, we can listen, we can take a tour into a relationship. We're not removing that personal touch. We're removing, the busy work that gets in the way of the human touch so that we can do what we are designed to do, which is engage with people.
Yeah, so really lack of time is the biggest threat. It's not necessarily AI. It's wasting our time doing all these meaningless tasks that could be automated to the point where we can spend more time actually spending human connection with our prospects or even with the care staff, with the residents. So, yep, totally agree with that. What are some small behind the scenes uses of AI that providers could benefit from right now?
So yeah, everybody's talking about AI like it's a big, scary, futuristic type of thing. And, that might eventually be the case. But right now, the truth is, like you said, the small behind the scenes uses of AI that are the real game changers for people in business. So let's think about that. So AI that writes a perfect follow up email that's based on where the lead is at that journey. So that will save you time. AI that reminds your salespeople when to reach out and even tells them what to say. That'll save your team stress. We're talking about AI that spots patterns, like when a campaign actually drives tours or when a lead is most likely to convert. That will save you money at the end of the day. None of that is loud or flashy if you think of it that way, but it will quietly save hours in your process. It boosts your move-ins without adding additional staff. And eventually that's where the real ROI lies in AI and automation, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I found an interesting statistic specific about senior care. It said more than 70% of senior care providers believe AI can significantly reduce staff workload, while 44% said it gives them more one on one time with residents. Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. Personalization too. I mean, that's a big part of what you do. And I know I read a statistic from, I was probably 5 years old now, but it said over 75% of consumers today expect personalization in their marketing. And if they don't get it, it actually turns them off. So the organizations, the senior living providers who are creating those personalized steps where they're, calling people by name or tailoring the content specifically to wherever they're at in the journey, I think those are the ones that are really winning out right now because people want to feel like they're special, they're not just another number in the system.
I think that's really true. I think if you get generic emails that will look like it was designed for everyone and all kinds of places, it just doesn't work. Personalization, in my opinion, like you said, it's a difference between being ignored and getting engagement. So generic follow up sounds like spam. You get them all the time. You delete, 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 delete. But when a lead gets a message that says their name, especially in the subject line, that's a great place. Mentions, the community that they're looking at, includes a video from a real person and answers a question, they pay special attention to that. And I think we see a 3x engagement just by personalizing the timing. You can talk about the message, the medium, of course. And here's the kicker. You don't need to manually personalize every message. You can do it using automation and make it at scale. So that's the future, personalizing like a human but powered by AI, if you think of it that way.
Yeah, I know we both agree that tech is most powerful when it runs beneath the surface. What are the biggest leaks in most senior living sales pipelines today?
Yeah, I think that the biggest leaks, I think they're everywhere, but I think they're invisible until it's too late, unfortunately. So let's see, leaks come from leads that come in that don't get responded quick enough. There's still a speed to lead, and we'll talk about the 5 minute rule in a minute, but hopefully leads that die after 2 days. So maybe they don't tour right away. Maybe they've been forgotten, or, tour no shows because no one has nurtured or confirmed them properly. They don't show up, and then you lose that lead. And then, ultimately from the leadership, it's zero visibility at the top. So leadership doesn't know what's working. They don't know what's stuck, and they don't know what to do about it. Ultimately, I think worst of all, these leads happen so silently. The CRM looks really good. The people are busy, 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 but the move-ins stall. And that's why automation matters. It really plugs a gap from what you can't see with reminders, nurture sequences, real-time insights that keep that pipeline, if you think of the pipeline, flowing all the way through. And unfortunately, you can't see what you don't have, you don't have aspect to, you don't have that information.
And I think too, when it comes to personalization and automation, there's a cadence involved with that. And there's a formula that works, but I think some sales teams they don't, or salesperson, they may think they're following up in a timely manner, but we may have a different perspective, or the client, the resident or the prospective resident or their family might have a different idea in mind in terms of what's realistic for follow up. Like the salesperson might say, "I'm going to follow up in 3 days," and this person might be like, "I'm expecting a follow up in 24 hours," and not be able to get to it for 3 days. So that's a problem where automation can solve that. And it just keeps them warm the entire time, as long as it's done well and it's not just some, like you were saying, generic cookie cutter message that it doesn't resonate. I think that's the best case scenario.
I think that bad automation feels like extra work for people, and good automation removes that work, if you think of it that way. So we structure automation to be like a smart assistant. It's not something that you have to fight with. It actually means that your reps know what they need to do when they need to do it. They automate your next step suggestions based on the sales stage, trigger follow-ups, reminders, content, and do all that without having to click through 10 different things. Um, you know, Keep it really clean. One screen, one focus, no overwhelm. Ultimately, the goal of automation is to keep it very simple. Make your salespeople perform like they're the best one. And automation isn't making sales faster, easier, and smarter. It's really
Mhm.
not helping you. That's ultimately the bottom line.
When you create automations for sales teams, are you doing that? Is that a customized experience for their needs, or do you have like a base system that you use for all clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have a base system that's based on 30 years worth of experience, and then we customize every single client to be what they need. So what happens in New York is different from what happens in North Carolina or another part, Minnesota. So each one is different, but ultimately the idea is to engage that prospect. So there is a base that we know works, and then we will use our relationship with that client to figure out what they need, and we'll customize everything for them.
How do most operators ensure that their sales team adopts that system or gets trained properly on system? Is that something you work with them on intimately, or are
Yeah,
they responsible? Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So when they go live, we actually do the entire what we call onboarding system for them. I think that they want automation, but I think oftentimes they don't know what they need, and they're just overwhelmed by the whole thing. So we will work with the client to get them exactly what they need. Again, based on our best practices, what we've known works, what we've known doesn't work, and we will automate that for them.
Do you think some sales teams are threatened by automation? They feel like it's taking their job, or potentially could take their job or their commission, something like that?
I think they do. I think honestly, they want better results. Again, they're overwhelmed by everything, and they feel like their communities are juggling with manual follow-up and staff turnover. But when you say, "Hey, I'm going to help you with video emails or AI copywriting," they don't know what to think of it. They might think it's something that they need to learn to use. So the truth is, tech we've been sold tech, we haven't been sold outcomes. So we flip that and we provide the tech, but we customize it for each client. So this is something that will help the salespeople do better with what they're doing every day. So you could do more in a day than you could in 10 days of doing things automatically or manually. I'm sorry. We can help that with that. And that's going to make their life a lot more productive and eventually get a lot better results, which of course makes them look good to their management as well. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. One data point I found on this too is that communities report up to 25% operational cost savings over 5 years using automation tools. Have you tracked any of that, or have you seen that or gotten that kind of feedback from your clients as well about savings?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that we've seen some automation that will go from a 9% click through all the way to a 27% click through. It's the same offer, it's just much more human and a lot faster. And ultimately, that results in higher tours and eventually into move ins. That's what they're all about. So I think that there's several things that you could do to make that automation help what they're doing. For us, it's really not a tech problem. It's a trust problem. Making sure people know what they need to do to automate their process and make things a lot easier and make things, we always say help them get their move-ins faster, easier, and with less stress. That's what it's all
Hmm.
about for us.
Talking about personalization at scale too. I know video email open rates jump by like 65% when a recipient's name is mentioned immediately. So personalization is obviously no longer optional. How much does personalization impact engagement in your experience?
Um, I think it impacts a lot. We actually noted 60% in our emails of people opening the emails. The truth is that personalization is definitely a game changer. In one senior living community, we added the lead's name in the subject line, the community of interest, and then another thing that we talk about is 20-second videos from the sales director, and we've actually tripled the engagement just by incorporating those three things. So again, we went from like 9%, I believe, to 27%. Same offer, just more human.
Wow.
And you're right, people don't want to feel like a number. They want to feel seen. And with the right automation, you can make every lead feel like you've messaged them and you're not burning out your team. And at the end of the day, it's about the secret sauce or what we call the unfair advantage. So we're just trying to help them get better results from what they're doing.
What about SMS marketing? I know everybody talks about the open rates with email dropping so significantly, but with text messages, I mean, it's a 80% or above open rate on average, even 90% in some cases. Is that something that you're working with? And have you seen those similar results?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely have that in there. I think that in senior living, especially some of the older people, most people, you need to ask them, do they want text messaging before you go message them? I think in the younger people, it works a lot better. But again, with this going off all the time, you're not really paying attention to what you're doing. So I think it's really important that you incorporate a sense of medium. So you have emails, you have text messages, you have video mails, you have all those kinds of things. And reach the leads wherever they're at, whether it's text or video or email, whatever that looks like for you. But I wouldn't focus specifically on text because some people get irritated by that.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Why do you think more communities haven't adopted video email or and AI copy tools yet? Do you think it's a tech adoption issue, or is there something else going on there?
Yeah, I do think it is a tech adoption, and I do think that they're overwhelmed by things. So if you say you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're asking them to do more things and lighten their load. I do think that once they use those tools and they get the automation, they get the results that they want, they're hooked. It's like having a 20-second video email and an AI crafted follow-up. It's better than making, 10 phone calls or hours of guessing. So it happens every single time. So I think it's a not quite sure what to do, don't know what to do, but if they start adopting it, use something, they're going to find that it's going to work better for them.
I know a lot of senior living communities too. They don't feel necessarily like they're ready for AI in this moment, but it doesn't mean their teams can wait. And I think, with your marketing background too, I'm sure you'll agree that I see a lot of operators or even just uh, providers looking at what their competitors are doing, and then they're saying, "Oh, we need to do that because this person is doing it," but they're not really sure why they need to do it, or they're not sure why that person's doing it, but they don't want to be lost in the sauce. What kind of reactions do you get from providers who've never used automation before?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think a lot of providers, they're a mix of curiosity and they're a mix of caution. Some are, like you said, are very skeptical, some are very excited. Some say, "Hey, we're not really techie." But again, once they see it in action, how automation follows up for them, it nudges a team, it sends the right messages, and eventually the light bulb will go off. So I remember one sales manager told me it's like having a smart assistant that never ever forgets, doesn't ever take a day off, and knows exactly what to say. And I think at that point, they're all in.
And how do you, I mean, this is probably the $1 million question, but I mean, how do you future proof a tech platform when the industry is slow to adopt? Because I feel like no matter how cutting edge we are, if our clients are not ready to adopt that, we're still going to be behind the curve, right? And then even like we look at, and I think part of the reason the senior living industry is behind is because of who we serve, right? We're serving residents who are not all that tech savvy. I mean, they're getting more tech savvy, but even their tech savviness isn't the same as, say, a millennial or someone who's Gen Z, right? Like they're just so much more tech savvy. So how do we future proof tech platforms now?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's something we talk about a lot around here, and I totally get it. You know, I think there was a football coach who once said that you don't build for where the industry's at right now. You build for where it's going. So, while, like you said, a lot of platforms are chasing features to keep up. And so we're looking to design for what's next, the AI automation, the voice driven tools. So they don't wear out their fingers. They can actually speak to it or talk to the system and have it do whatever they ask. So you make sure the simple is designed for them in the future, but also easier for them to adopt now. To me, it feels like, we're building flexible architecture because you know what? Whatever we do now is going to be different in 6 months or a year from now. So we try to make that so that whatever happens, we can make that change. We can, keep the interface really clean as much as you can. And then for our clients who are scared of the big AI, we say, start small, start wherever they're at right now. And then whenever they're ready, they can scale big. We have a saying around here that says we crawl, walk, and run. You start off by crawling, eventually you start walking, and eventually you can run. But it's like what you said, senior living moves really slow, but the challenges, the demands on operators are moving really fast. So while we're not trying to patch together something with outdated tools, we're really kind of creating a platform that grows with them and not one that they'll be able to outgrow. So it's a situation where you have to think about everything and make changes as you go, like you said. It really depends on the industry and the client. It just depends on where they're at.
And I know AI is just moving so fast, it's almost impossible to keep up sometimes. We're shifting now, or we've already shifted from just AI where it's just we're prompting AI to do things for us to now the agentic AI systems where they're thinking, they're producing, creating things on their own. And then next we have like quantum computing that's going to be here. So things are going to be happening in a heartbeat that are now taking, hours or days to complete. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, how do you see that integrating like the AI agents into the system?
We're working on it right now. So, yeah, you say this, I'm like, are you
Yeah.
watching what we're doing over here? Yeah, it is something that we're working on. We actually did a training tool recently on one of our client did a how you use AI to incorporate into your system and doing those kinds of things. So I do think that's a big part of it. I do think that for us, it becomes a way to increase our performance without and lowering our costs. So for example, one of the things that we're looking at is an AI agent to help with the support calls that come in that are the same ones. We have it. It's all available. It's on the knowledge base. You can do whatever you want, but sometimes you don't want to take the time to go search on a knowledge base. You just want it
Yeah.
to talk to you. You just want it to say, hey, here's where you go. Here's where you look that up and help them with that. So that's a way that we can kind of increase our exposure without reducing our costs as well for our client care. So there's all kinds of things we can do. There's a way of incorporating tools directly into, in our case, into Advantage Anywhere to help them find a better way to increase what they're doing. We're doing an AI one on soon on community living. We're going to talk about all the things you can do, like how you can talk to your chat GPT and say, hey, I want to be Mona. Here's my YouTube channel. Here's my videos. Learn how I talk and then start replacing that. So when it talks to you, it sounds like it's your voice. Or you can say, hey, I want to be Tony Robbins. I want to look like Tony Robbins. You can say, hey, I want this to appear like Tony Robbins. It will go out, search his documents and come back and provide tools that sound just like him. So there's all kinds of things you can do to make it look like you, and even sound like you if you can. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on. Very excited about that. As you can tell, I get really excited about this. There's so much we could do. And yes, I know that AI might have a downside at some point, but right now we need to use it as a tool that it is. It can help us perform much better than if we did, if we got nervous about it. We just need to work with what we have.
As a business owner too, I mean, just even outside of senior living, how are you handling AI adoption? Do you have a specific team member that's managing that for you? Or is that something that company wide you guys are kind of focused on as a team and making sure you're all staying up to date?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the answer to that is it's really we're constantly talking about AI. I think I told you earlier, we have a morning meeting. We talk about all kinds of things. And one of the things we're talking about is what's the newest in AI. One of the things that we talk about right now is called 11 Labs. I don't know if you've seen this before,
Yeah.
but you can program your voice and it will do whatever you want. And so we're always using those things to not just use it for our clients, but also for ourselves to make what we're doing a lot better. I think because we're a tech company, we're all into AI. Most of us are. There's a few people who are like, I don't know about all this. But eventually, I think if you're not using AI now, you're going to get left behind. That's just the bottom line. So we've got to make sure that we're constantly staying on top of what's happening with AI and automation, all those other kinds of things. And a lot of the things that we build inside of the system, sorry, I don't know if you mentioned this, but inside of the system is what we call a sales follow-up. And it's based on where that client is in the stage. And it shares with you things that have worked, things that haven't worked. So you can make that suggestion. It grows. It grows as you continue to use it. So there's so many ways we can use it and, increase our results as well, increase our clients' results as well.
I hear all the time because we're mostly in a marketing agency. I hear a lot that we'll be out of the job in 5 years. And so one of our goals is to look at how we can use AI to innovate what we're doing, to build systems that, we can implement into our clients' communities. So we're in the process of hiring an AI engineer right now. So there's going to be a person on our team who's dedicated to looking at all those systems and processes that we're using, as well as that our clients are using, to see how we can improve those and work those into the packages that we're offering. So that's one way that we're definitely going to stay ahead of the curve. And it was funny, when I first started the agency, I always said, number one, I want full-time people on the team, but I want people who they're very focused on one thing. They do one thing great. I don't want someone who does 10 different things, because, you can be good at a lot, but you can only be great at one thing, right? And now it's completely shifted. Now I'm in a space where I want everyone to be versatile. I don't want to have 100 people on my team if I can have 30 who all know and have that same skill set of being adaptable, of being AI thinking forward, and being able to maybe do 2 or 3 different things rather than just that one thing. So it's just interesting how the whole mindset around business is changing now.
Yeah, I think it applies to everyone, no matter what role you're in. And I don't think marketing is going to go away. I think
Me neither.
your focus is going to change, but I don't think you're going away. There's no way. And I do think we need the human touch. But wherever you're at in the company, whether you're marketing, wherever you do, you can use AI to make that job so much better. I think that's what you're seeing with your people as well, and what we're seeing with our people as well. We have to adopt it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think as leaders in our organization, it's important for us to have that vision, to understand that that's what's needed. to grow the company, but also to help our team grow as individuals too. Because yeah, you don't want to see anybody get left in the dust. And if you force somebody to do one thing and that's it, and now, it's almost like you see people who spend 20, 30 years in the military doing this one job, and then they come out into the workforce and that's not applicable in the real world. And they're just like, I have to go back to school or I have to start from scratch, even though I've got 30 years of experience doing this one thing. And it's just a shame. I would hate to see more people in the economy like that. Unfortunately, that's going to be the case for some people, but I think being a tech savvy company, we can help our teams kind of grow and evolve. Getting back to standardizing the sales journey, I know different salespeople mean different results, but also automation can kind of level the playing field and raise the baseline a little bit. Why do you think it's so important to build workflows that work no matter who's using them?
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think that your move-ins shouldn't depend on who's showed up that day. In most communities, that sales journey lives in someone's head, worse or a sticky note. So that means when a rock star leaves, so does that process. I think standardizing your workflows, turning that guesswork into a proven system, that's what makes sure that every lead gets followed up with the same urgency, every tour gets the same prep, no one falls through the cracks regardless of who's on that team or what they know. So that's how you scale. You can protect your revenue by doing it that way. I think that's part of the plan for using automation to make sure that everyone is at a level playing field and you're not dropping the ball on any clients.
Is there one automation you can think of that was like a huge win that you saw for a client?
Yeah, I think I have a couple of ideas in mind. One of which was a client, they they had leads that were sitting for days before anyone followed up with them. They were just really overwhelmed. They had really no system and they just sat there and nothing happened with them. So we implemented what we call an automation that instantly engages every lead. So what we call a smart form down to a nurture campaign. So that nurturing campaign included, a video email, branded emails, testimonials, AI guided follow up for that team. It's really strategic, really intentional. And each step of those has a CTA, which gets them to tour. So eventually, in about 90 days, their tour bookings were tripled. The follow up dropped from, 3 days to 3 minutes, and they boosted their move ins by 40% in like 90 days without adding a
Wow.
single person. So that's the power of automation. It doesn't just speed things up, it really transforms the entire sales rhythm, if you think of it that way.
That's huge. What an increase. I was going to ask you that if more tourists and more leads don't always equal more tours and more tours don't always equal more move-ins. So I was curious if the quality remained consistent even though the number of bookings went up. Sounds like it though. If they had a 40% increase in move-ins, that's awesome.
Right. And I think part of that process is qualifying that lead to find out if they're really qualified. Maybe they don't have the money involved or they don't have some of the things that will take for them to become. So you're not wasting your time on unqualified leads. You're focusing on the ones that are qualified.
My last little section for you, I think, is just talking about a little bit more about innovation without the overwhelm. And I know you had talked about why clear frameworks matter in that space. So, what advice do you have for operators who want to adopt AI, but maybe they feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you have to start now where you're at right now and you have to do something now. I don't think you should wait any longer. You don't need to do AI overnight. You just need to pick one pain point. Maybe it's, a slow follow-up or tour no-shows or, maybe content that's taking too long to write and then solve that with AI. I think the biggest mistake for us is waiting for perfection. The winners are the ones that they get in early, they test, they tweak, and they learn. But we don't want to go through this alone. You need something that will help you with your industry and it'll help replace that. AI isn't here to replace your team. It's here to really make them unstoppable and give them an advantage, as we say, an advantage. So I think you need to start right now, do something now, and then grow as your progress change. You can always add more to it, but you've got to do something now. You can't wait. It's too late.
Absolutely agree with that. And if there was one small change that they could make today that would have a big impact, what do you think that would be?
Turn your first tour follow up into automation right now. So most leads sit too long, before anyone responds. That lead, that silence, it costs you tours, it costs you trust and move-ins. So setting up a smart follow-up, we said, a text, an email, a short video, whatever, that fires immediately when someone inquires, that's the best place to start it. I think I talked about the 5-minute rule earlier. Minute rule says if you follow up with a lead within 5 minutes, waiting 30 minutes versus 30 minutes, if you follow up with a lead within 5 minutes, you'll increase your conversion by 100x, not 100 times, 100x. So that alone can double your engagement. So I think that's where you start. It's really a small change, but it tells the leads, hey, we see you, we're on it. And that momentum, I believe, is everything for them because that's their first reaction with you. Their first interaction with you is getting that lead or getting a response from you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a great place to start. Mona, thank you so much for such a great conversation. I hope, I know, well, I don't hope, I know our audience is going to get a lot out of this, and it's going to spark a lot of ideas around automation and how to integrate AI from the start. Where can our audience go to learn more about Advantage Anywhere or connect with you?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate getting to know you, getting to understand a little bit about what you guys do. I'd love to chat with anyone. You can reach us at advantageanywhere.com. Um, we have all kinds of things on there. If you want to dive deeper, you can go subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called Advantage Anywhere. It's really about behind the scenes walkthroughs, automation tips, and interviews with someone like you guys. So if you want to reach out to me, we're also doing a 2025 benchmark report. It is almost available. It's packed with really national data and automation insights. If you want that, just reach out to me. You can reach me at Mona at advantageanywhere.com, or you can reach me at LinkedIn under Mona Hilton. Thank you so much. I'd love to connect with whatever your team is working on, and it'd be my honor.
Awesome. Thanks, Mona. All right. Well, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to thank Mona Hilton for joining us and sharing her vision for a smarter, more human-centered future in senior living. From automation behind the scenes to AI-powered personalization and scalable workflows, Mona reminds us that technology doesn't have to replace connection, it can amplify it. So if you want to connect with Mona or explore Advantage Anywhere, check out the links in the show notes. As always, we hope you found this episode insightful and inspiring, and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platforms. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to explore the evolving world of senior care, covering everything from innovative care models and leadership strategies to family support technology and the future of aging. And also remember that From Leads to Leases isn't just an audio experience, we're also a video podcast, so you can subscribe to our YouTube or Spotify channels to watch the full episodes. I'm Jerry Vinci, CEO of CCR Growth. Thank you for joining us on From Leads to Leases, and please like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone who might find it useful. Until next time, lead with strategy and with heart. Chat with you again soon.
Thanks,
Thanks, Mona.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to From Leads to Leases. Are you ready to fill your rooms faster and increase occupancy? Visit ccrgrowth.com to learn about our Senior Growth Innovation Suite, a proven system to generate highly qualified, tour-ready leads, accelerate sales, and reduce acquisition costs. Let's connect and turn your challenges into opportunities. See you next time.